Hello, I'm Matt Guichard, and this is No Holds Barred. Today, we're going to take a deep dive into the area of immigration law. We're pleased to have Erika Portillo here of the law firm Guichard, Tang, Portillo, and Garrett. Erika is a specialist in the area of immigration law, and we're pleased to have her. We're going to jump right into it, and I'm going to start asking some questions immediately of Erika. Let me ask, it's interesting when you mentioned the police. I think many people, particularly undocumented people, believe that the police are just out searching for undocumented people. But fair to say that the police, local police, they have no interest. If somebody has a DUI, they arrest them, they go through the process and release them just like anyone else. But it's later, perhaps, that ICE may get wind of them having been booked for a DUI, but not the local police. Is that fair?
Yes, not the local police, but just in the past, while the Obama administration, they had an agreement that whenever somebody was arrested, to notify ICE directly. So that's when we saw a lot of deportations, a lot of people getting in removal proceedings. Right now, so after Obama left, it went back to no contact or no collaboration with the police. Or they do have collaboration, but they don't have to notify them. The police, the local police doesn't have to notify ICE whenever somebody is arrested. Mm-hmm. But it was only during Obama, the Obama administration, when that was happening. Mm-hmm. So right now, they are not looking for anybody. While during the Obama administration, they were looking for people, actively looking for people, the police. They were only ICE was only being notified when the person was arrested. But right now, even if a person is arrested, they don't notify ICE.
The police don't notify ICE.
The police don't, no. Unless it's a person who is drug trafficking, not even then, but if there is a terrorist or it is some very serious crime, mm-hmm. then they may notify ICE.
So fair to say the local police have better things to do than to be worrying about the immigration status of somebody whom they pull over.
Yes, no, exactly, yes.
Yeah. Let me ask you, an interesting question comes up. So if you assist somebody and there's cancellation of removal, that doesn't make them documented. What is the status of somebody who you have gone to court, you have successfully argued to cancel the removal that ICE is trying to remove the person? What becomes their status then?
It's a permanent resident.
I see.
They become permanent residents, but those visas are very limited too, so they have to wait years. Mm-hmm. For instance, in 2019, my client's case was approved. We proved the cancellation of removal. We essentially have to prove that they had been living in the United States more than 10 years. They have good moral character, and they have U.S. citizen children, spouse, or parents, or permanent residents could be, permanent residents, spouse, mm-hmm. Children, or parents. And they don't have a serious crime, so it's the good moral character, and that they're gonna suffer extreme hardship, the parents.
If they were
extremely unusual hardship, yes.
If they were deported.
If they were deported,
I see.
Yes,
I see.
So we have to show that, which is a very higher standard because it's extremely unusual hardship. So the case was approved in 2019, and it's until now that he recently got the actual approval order to be able to get his green card. Mm-hmm. So they take a long time. Mm-hmm. And also the cases in court, they're taking a long time. I have clients who were arrested during the Obama era, and it's until now that they're gonna have their trial, just until now. So it's been already about 10 years mm-hmm. that they're gonna have their trial. So it's been a backlog, and the pandemic made it worse.
Yeah, but those people are allowed to stay. So in other words, somebody appears in court, a hearing is set, it may be set out for a period, but they get to remain in the country. Is that correct? So they're not required to leave the country and then the ruling, and then they can come back in.
No.
So we have a number of people, is it fair to say, who've gone through that process, who are waiting because of the backlog in our immigration courts to get approval or
yes.
not?
Yes, no, significant number of people, yes. So that's why they have been working very hard to hire new judges and to speed up things, because obviously the pandemic also put a lot of backlog. And it's until now that they were starting to see trials, although during the pandemic in 2020, I had 2 trials. And because some judges were able to continue with it was good for the client because they were approved, but it would have been bad for other people if they would have to leave the country and under the circumstances that they were in 2020. But there were a few trials, only very few. And it's until now in 2022 that there started to be more trials, more. The hearings haven't started yet. The case status hearings, we call them master hearings. They're gonna start soon too. So everything starts moving now.
Start moving again, huh? You know, from a big picture standpoint, I mean, we're a country of whatever, 350 million people or more. And we hear these estimates of anywhere from 10 to 15 million undocumented people here in the United States. So it's actually a very small number when you consider the number of people that we have here in our population. But having said that, I want to go back to, I think it was under the Reagan administration where we had amnesty for everyone who was within the country. And there was something in the neighborhood of, I don't know, 8 million or so people were made citizens. How did that work? Was it just automatic?
Yeah, they had to prove obviously that they were the physical presence, that they were here. And yeah, there were many people that got status through that, but also there were many people that didn't apply. So that's very sad too, that they just didn't apply. But yeah, there were a lot of people that got benefit, that they benefited from it.
So the reason I ask that question is because that term has now become, I call it pejorative, amnesty. But if we look around, and people often say, goodness, if we threw out everyone who was undocumented in the United States, we would have no one mowing lawns, cleaning houses, working at any of our fast food restaurants or anything like that. It would be actually devastating to our economy, particularly at a time when we don't have enough workers.
Yes, and well, yes, the majority of people that are here usually fill those jobs, but obviously we have also professionals that are working, that are needed, and our system is representing Latinos or minorities. But it's true, so we need something to fix the immigration system, because right now we can see how well, one of the concerns usually when people don't want to have the amnesty or any benefit is because they say that they're going to take the jobs of U.S. citizens. But right now, as we see and we have noticed, when we go to restaurants, when we go to different grocery stores, they are looking for workers. So the jobs are there. U.S. citizens are not taking them. So that is now it's shown that it's not, it has no basis for them to say that they're going to take their jobs. Right now, there are tons of jobs out there, and they are not being taken. And the immigration has stopped. I mean, people are still coming undocumented, but it's harder. So creating work visas for people in Latin America, including Mexico and Central America or any other countries, to be able to work legally will be beneficial for everybody. And the jobs, they're gonna be coming to work on those jobs that are much needed.
I see.
And even professionals, they can come, they have input, they have ideas, they have a lot of things that they can offer to the society. But hopefully Congress will agree to expand work visas for unskilled workers, that are very needed, and it would benefit society, the U.S.
Mm-hmm. In looking at the whole immigration system and considering the number of people who come in legally through our immigration system, so there are over 1 million people a year enter the United States legally and remain here. So we do have a system for getting people into our country. I want to say not as a political question, simply because this issue of immigration reform, and I'll use that term, has been an issue for decades under administrations, Republican, Democrat, and all. And it doesn't seem that we can get our hands around a solution. And I'll give an example, and I want you to talk about this, DACA. I think very few people would disagree with the idea that some young child who came here 15 or 20 years ago, doesn't speak a foreign language, is for all intents and purposes a U.S. citizen, who's schooled here, their friends are here, they go to school, they play on sports teams and all, wakes up with the idea that I'm actually undocumented and I could be deported, which is a horrific thought. So DACA, I think many people approve that concept. What is wrong? What needs to be done to make DACA a reality?
Congress. So Congress has to make it into law for people to have that status, and then the ability to become permanent residents and eventually U.S. citizens. It has become very political, but as you said, I think that one aspect of immigration is the only one that I see that Republicans and Democrats are in agreement. So it's very likely that we hope that during this administration that we're going to get that at least, because the administration of President Biden give a proposal for reform, for immigration reform, to give it to Congress. But we expect that at least DACA will be approved, and we are hopeful. Because right now everything is interrupted because there's an injunction that they cannot approve or adjudicate the new applications of DACA. So we are hopeful that Congress would take that their hands and then finally have that done, because there is a consensus that will be beneficial for everybody.
You know, it's concerning that you say that even in the amnesty that was granted back under the Reagan administration, that a number of people didn't because they were fearful. Some people who are here undocumented, they're fearful to admit it because thinking that perhaps that will put them on somebody's radar screen. I did hear about that as one of the issues with DACA initially, and you're thinking, well, why didn't every single young person who qualified, why did they not apply for DACA?
Yes, because it was, you have to renew DACA. So once it is approved, you have to apply again to renew it. So it's not a permanent benefit. And that gave them a sense that they could be removed and they would get the attention of the government that they were here illegally. And they will have their information, they will have their address, they have their phone number and all their information. So that's why many people were afraid. And also because it's deferred action. So it's not, meaning deferred action is, we're not going to remove you. We're just going to allow you to work, but we know that you don't have documents. And so that's what they were saying. But it's not a permanent benefit. It doesn't give me any benefit. It's just giving me a work permit to stay and deferred my removal. So that's why many people didn't want to apply. But I kept encouraging them because it's something that was beneficial and still beneficial to get. They get the Social Security number, they get the work permit. Some of them wanted to study, and now I have one person that is studying to be a doctor, one of my clients. So that is great. She's been able to do it because she has been renewing her DACA. And when the DACA was approved, she immediately contacted our office and we applied. And I had many people that came to my office to get that benefit, and now they are, studying and successful and having just a better life.
Yes. Well, it's such a positive when we think about immigration and we hear all the negative things, but DACA is such a positive when you actually see the young people and how they're achieving things. They're student body presidents, they're achieving things and going on to college, and that's wonderful. Stay tuned for the next episode of No Holds Barred.